As an Indian, at times I feel, is it a failure of India's foreign policy that US has been tilting towards Pakistan and not prioritizing India? Is it something like that Pakistan can do and the India cannot? Even during the recent Middle East conflict, we had seen that the India was able to manage itself quite successfully in comparison to even the stable economies around the world. But still, US chose Pakistan to broker a ceasefire negotiation in between the Iran and US, even when Pakistan itself was fighting a battle with Iran in the previous year. So what essentially is the reason that why US chooses Pakistan time and again, knowing that this is the painful country that is harboring the pain and exporting the problems throughout the world? Now, we can understand this entire point by a single acknowledgement that was made by the Pakistani defense minister last year. The Pakistani defense minister Khwaja Asif claimed that Pakistan is doing the dirty work for the West for decades. Now, this self-incrimination by the Pakistan's defense minister makes it amply clear that why US chooses Pakistan over India every time. We can understand one thing, that US does not want a autonomous country. US does not want a country that does not obey US blindly. Whereas Pakistan is less of an ally, less of a partner, but more of a convenience. Pakistan's strategic location with Iran, Afghanistan, and China makes it amply clear that US cannot take away its support from the Pakistan in case US wants its presence to be felt across this region. So Pakistan is more of a convenience for the entire world and less of an ally, less of a strategic partner for any country. Now, if you feel that Pakistan has got some edge only because of this, then you are again mistaken. Because Pakistan does not have an edge. Pakistan, the strategic location of Pakistan is the vulnerability of Pakistan that is getting some money for the Pakistanis. Pakistan is a country wherein it is not the diplomacy or the political will that solves their problem, but it is the need that is solving problem for them. Pakistan, on one hand, is a puppet, economic slave of United States, and on the other hand, it is also being used conveniently by China. So these points enough can resolve this problem, that why US prioritizes Pakistan over a relatively stable and democratically straightforward country like India. It is not that the US is prioritizing only Pakistan over India. US has time and again prioritized Pakistan over other countries also, because of the one single reason, that they cannot act as a puppet in the hands of the United States. Now, Pakistan as a country, if we can see, exports terrorism. Okay, they have sheltered Osama bin Laden and they run a nuclear proliferation program throughout the world. Okay, it is unarguably the most radicalized country in the entire world, and time and again the US keeps picking Pakistan over India. Now, question is why? Only because the Pakistan is being available for the United States conveniently at all times. Now, Pakistan is the world's painful point. Okay, if I put it more clearly and if I go more blunt, Pakistan is the trouble exporter. From Lashkar-e-Taiba to Jash to the Haqqani network, everything is being operated through the Pakistani soil. Okay. The nuclear proliferation, the AQ Khan network sold secrets to Iran as well as the North Korea. Okay, so AQ Khan nuclear black market was essentially existing, and Pakistan has consistently fueled the global terror and proliferation. Next, the Taliban's patron. It provided sanctuary during the US war in the Afghanistan, and US keep coming back to Pakistan. Why? Because the Pakistan offers something that Washington finds it very hard to resist. And what is that thing that Washington finds it hard to resist? It is the quick, deniable, and tactical win that Pakistan is offering to the United States that no other country can offer. Now, we had recently seen that even though whatever happened last year during the Operation Sindoor or the other conflicts taking place in the Asia, but Pakistan, the Pakistan's general as well as the Prime Minister, they went to the United States and endorsed the President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Now, this is something that even though the United States have been committing n number of wrongs, but the Pakistan can provide them any win, any time, and Pakistan will be there to support them at all times. Okay. Now, one more thing, why US still supports Pakistan? This is another thing that is very contradictory. Okay. Now, this contradiction is very, very stark. On one hand, the US official statements condemn terrorism. On the other hand, the Pentagon and the State Department are keeping Pakistani generals on their payroll. The reason is the short-term utility over the long-term values. Okay, Pakistan's military can deliver quick, deniable results. Okay, now Pakistan's geographic location is of the greatest use to them. Now, Pakistan provides access to Iran. Pakistan's proximity to China, China's Belted Road Initiative is another cherry on the cake, and Pakistan can willingly partner in messy counter-terrorist operations. Okay, so the US knows that even when Pakistan is toxic, but it is usable. Okay. Next, we can see the recent pasts, okay, the recent events when US-Pakistan closeness has come clearly, okay, and this closeness has been used against India as well. So there is a timeline. Now, in July 2025, the Pakistan's air chief had visited US, okay. Now, this was the first in over a decade. The same month, the failed Marshal Munir also visited the official visit to United States. Okay, and President Trump publicly thanked Pakistan in a speech to the Congress. Okay, now it was by December 2025, US fast-tracked $686 million in military aid, including the F-16 sustainment as well as the MRAM missiles. In April 2026, Pakistan brokered a ceasefire talks which was bound to fail. So in this situation, we can understand one thing, that diplomatic reset is real and it is accelerating in between the US and Pakistan. Okay. One more thing, if we see the US backed IMF bailouts. Now these are more of an economic lifeline to the Pakistan and less of an IMF bailout. Now, military aid is just half of the story. Pakistan's economy is kept afloat by the IMF. Okay, and it is the US that controls the IMF. Okay, now US holds around 16.5% voting share in IMF, which is the decisive power. Okay, we can see that in 2025 itself, Pakistan had secured a $7 billion IMF package. 1.2 billion was disbursed immediately in December itself. Okay, and another around 1 billion was under negotiations. Okay, India had raised serious concerns over this $1 billion tranche that was given to the Pakistan in May 2025, and why India had raised this issue? Because everyone knew that Pakistan has been using this money to harbor terrorists against India. Now, Pakistan's money has been used to support the cross-border terrorism, but the IMF, that is backed by the US, approved it anyway. Now, this is economic statecraft which has got deadly consequences for the entire world. Okay. Now, next thing that we see, the Pakistan's trap. Okay. Now, this has been very nicely portrayed by the Israeli journalist Shay Gale in the Eurasian Times. Okay. Now, he effectively says that what Pakistan is delivering to the US, okay, is something that no other country can deliver. Okay. Now, we have seen that first it has been during the mediation with Iran. Pakistan had hosted the US Vice President JD Vance, the Iranian diplomats, and the so-called ceasefire was successfully brokered. Second, it is the economic access. Okay, so US-based Export-Import Bank had approved $1.25 billion for Pakistan's Reko Dik mining project in Baluchistan. Third, we have seen the military integration. Pakistan's F-16s are now being equipped with the advanced tactical data links, okay, the MRAM missiles, and that are being supported by the US Navy carriers also. Fourthly, the Pakistan has offered US an alternative deep sea port at Pasni, which is 100 kilometers from China's Gwadar. Okay, so this has been a counter to the Belt and Road Initiative that is being led by the China. Clear? Moreover, a US military official had called Pakistan a phenomenal partner. Okay, so that is the current reality under which they are operating, and this has been very nicely put by the Israeli journalist. Now, when we go through this Pakistani trap, okay, we can notice one thing, that historically, US has repeatedly chosen Pakistan for immediate operational access. From the Seattle Pact in 1950s to the Nixon's tilt towards Pakistan during the 1971 Bangladesh War. It was during the Bangladesh War that US had sent their aircraft carriers to support Pakistan. Okay, it has been Pakistan in the 1980s that US had used the Pakistan against the Soviets. Okay, lastly, after the 9/11, Pakistan has been used against Afghanistan. Okay, it is just because India's democracy, okay, negotiates things slowly. Okay, now when the question comes that why we have not been used, we have been ignored by US, and why Pakistan has been prioritized, the only reason is that Pakistan's political structure is primarily a military-led structure. Okay, and that military-led structure says yes instantly without any democratic discussion back or forth. Okay, this trap is very simple. Washington will always choose Pakistan, which is effectively acting as a problem solver, over India, which is relatively a principled and democratically strong country. Okay, so the US knows that when the clock is ticking, they have to run towards Pakistan and they must ignore India, because India would always ask questions. Okay, secondly, we have seen that the India negotiates slowly primarily because India has to look for various things, and this has been the reason that India has, no matter how many sanctions have been put on India by the United States, India has not left its allies like Russia. Okay, now another point that has been added by the Global Security Review, okay, it also adds another point to it. Okay, it also adds another point to it, and it says that the multilateral world order, okay, in the current scenarios, multilateral world order, the organizations like the UN, organizations like the G20 are collapsing. Okay, and major powers can no longer solve any crisis institutionally. So US is forced to fall back upon the bilateral partners. Okay, Pakistan's strategic border, strategic location, that is bordering China, bordering Iran, bordering Afghanistan, makes it an indispensable bridge for the United States. Meanwhile, India is too autonomous. Okay, New Delhi will refuse to break its ties with Russia. They will resist US demands on trade, and they would generally negotiate it very hard. So the US has adopted a hedging strategy. Keep India for long-term containment against China, but use Pakistan for short-term messes. Okay, we have seen that Pakistan is basically being used as a short-term tool. Okay, so they are being used as a short-term tool, and we can also understand one thing, that this strategy of United States, even though is a cold strategy, but transactionally it is the harsh reality. Okay, now why the US trust is fragile? Okay, now we should not mistake this closeness for trust. Okay, US knows that Pakistan is a fair weather friend. In 2025, when Pentagon had cancelled the $300 million in aid because Pakistan failed to act against the militants during the so-called 12-day war. Okay, during the so-called 12-day war in between US and Israel-led coalition. Okay, and Iran. Okay, Pakistan publicly sided with Tehran and not Washington. In September 2025 again, okay, in September 2025 again, Pakistan signed a mutual defense pact with Saudi Arabia, promising to treat an attack on kingdom as an attack on itself. Okay. Now, we can understand one thing, that the agreement directly undermines the US strategic interest, and US intelligence assessments have also made it very clear that Pakistan's hypersonic and long range missile program is an emerging threat to the United States also. So, the US is now cozying up with the country, okay, not just to fully gain the trust, okay, but this has been used as a classic and a dangerous gamble for the United States. Okay, now this entire situation, what does it mean for India? Okay, now where does this leave India? So first and foremost, it is a diplomatic setback. Clear? Now, the US Pakistan reset directly correlates with the cooling of India US relations. Okay. Our trade deal was only reached in February 2026 after long delays. Second, there is a military risk. Okay. As US integrates its data links with Pakistan's F-16s, now India would face a US backed air force on its western front. Okay, and this has been observed by India last year as well. Clear? Now, combining this with Pakistan's expanding missile arsenal, we can understand that in case it is the Pakistani air force fighting against India, it is the US that is fighting against India. Third, it is no good options. Okay, India does not have good options. Now, walking away from the United States would only push United States closer to Pakistan. So India must hedge in between. India must deepen their ties with Russia, Europe, Japan, Australia simultaneously so that they can keep them away. Okay. Moreover, we can also understand one thing, that this entire hope lies only upon one assumption, that and that assumption is a short-term phase. Clear? The structural logic of India-US alliance is to counter China. This is the only assumption that remains strong. But in the short term, New Delhi will have to swallow some bitter pills. Okay, New Delhi have to compromise at some places, and if I may have to summarize, Pakistan's is the world's radicalized painful point. Okay, a state that has been supporting every wrong deed in the entire country. Okay, but only because the US needs a fast, obedient partner for short-term crisis, Pakistan fits into that role. Okay, and in this situation, the US does not envision long-term reliability with them. Okay, India, for its entire democratic strength and strategic autonomy, cannot offer that same speed of obedience to United States that is being offered to them by Pakistan. So the only long-term solution for India is to make itself so indispensable economically, technologically, and militarily that the United States cannot afford to play both sides. Okay, so this is the only solution that we have, and this is the only way through which, no matter how much US allies with Pakistan, we will not at all be threatened. Clear? So the uncomfortable reality of US-Pakistan friendship is that United States would keep repeating the same historic mistake. Okay, but the United States is only looking for the short-term goal or the short-term value additions into whatever is required to let United States have an influence in this region. Okay, so essentially, you comment down your views below, okay, and tell me what do you think upon this US-Pakistan relationship. Okay, do you think that this hedge that is being provided by India, or how India should react in this situation? Okay, and can this relationship be used as a hedge against China? Okay, so do let me know your views upon this. Okay, and in case you are preparing for the defense based examination, okay, our batch for the CAPF 2026 examination has now started, has just started, and the CAPF batch is available at a price of rupees 1999. You can use the code SRM live to avail maximum discount. The examination is scheduled on 19th of July. Secondly, the CDS examination that is scheduled on 13th of September will be starting off with a batch on 1st of May, and again you can use the code SRM live to avail the maximum discount. Moreover, you can also join me in my Telegram channel. The link to the channel is sharadmudgal_StudyIQ, and the channel has been named as Defense Decoded. Okay, so please do let me know in the comment section how much did you like this session. Do let me know in the comment section, and do let me know any other topic that you want me to cover. So this was all from my side today. We'll see you all in the next session. Jai Hind.